Hey folks, Kevin here again, back at the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. Behind me as usual, the beautiful wagon wheel, and hopefully still a little wisdom up here. Today we're going to talk about a very uncomfortable topic, and it has to do with no contact. Something that many of us go through on this journey, and something that, you know, I think is probably one of the hardest things to overcome on this journey, and that's being completely shut out of somebody else's life who was in your life, short amount of time, long amount of time, but regardless, the feeling of just complete abandonment and everything that goes with that. So let's talk a little bit about no contact, and I'm going to talk about how I first perceived it. So when it happened, it even though I knew why it happened, and again, I've been very vulnerable and open about this, she said some things to me that I really responded to and took it to another level and didn't need to. I feel very embarrassed by some of the things I've said. I feel very regretful about the things I've said. And there's been a epiphany, if you'll call it, about that I've really sort of been able to, I guess, accept my role in it, forgive myself for it in a way. I still take full responsibility for it and have that regret, but at the same time, here's something that might put you at ease if you were in a position like mine where things were said to you that were cruel or you said back to them that were cruel. I want you to look at it and think about it this way. We're well aware at this point in time that there's a far bigger and greater purpose for this entire journey. I believe most of us, except for maybe people in this early on, but most of us accepted that there's something far bigger behind the scenes at work here, for ourselves and for our counterpart. And it was written in the stars that it had to go down the way that it had to go down. And what I mean by that is they needed to say the things to you that they said to allow you to begin to work on yourself. You said the things that you did to them in order for them to work on themselves too. In other words, the twins did what they do best: mirror each other and open up a can of wounds that you can only possibly imagine for the other to hopefully see. And I'll talk later on about how no contact certainly helps create an environment where you can go back and really kind of break down who you are as an individual. So again, I'm just going to reiterate that even though cruel things were said, in time it's not going to matter. I go back a lot of the times and like almost just get like like I can't believe I said that sort of attitude, sort of mentality. But not to justify it or rationalize it, but to accept it for what it is. Again, they said the very things to you that you needed to hear or I needed to hear. And I'll give you an example. There's guys like you on every street corner. Airplane flying overhead, give me a second. And then I said things back, well, all you seem to do is go around and serial date guys and jump from guy to guy. And I'm not, and the other thing I had said, I'm not going to take any relationship advice from somebody who's had 100% of their relationships fail over time. So these are just examples, but at the same time, me hearing the things I did from her, I have to sit down with and work through, because why does that bother me in the first place? Is she right? Is she right? So try not to sit in regret about things that you said to them, and try not to take offense to things that were said to you. I promise you there is a much bigger purpose for both of those. They were said to you so you can then go to work on these things, almost like a starting point. And vice versa. You said some cruel things to them. Well, there we go. We have to first be accountable for those things that we said, but secondly, not necessarily live in a state of regret for saying them, okay? It's a breakup. At the end of the day, it's a breakup, and people say some very cruel things to one another, so just sit with it. Time heals in this one, because in the end, all will be forgiven anyway. So the second thing is, with the no contact, It's going to be hard out of the gate to initially accept this. But you have to accept this as the greatest gift they could possibly have given you. So if you've been like me in past relationships, let's say there's been a breakup. How many times did you guys end up hours, days, maybe a week later, getting back together, having makeup sex, and all things will be forgotten and forgiven, only to circle right back around to the same stupid argument or something related to that stupid argument to divide you further? This isn't going to be like that, and there's good reasons for it, because there are so many things at work, like I always say, behind the scenes, forcing the twins to separate. You don't have a choice in this. You really don't. The divine masculine has to get the hell away from you. They have to. They don't know what to do. In retrospect, when you begin to kind of, and I always reference this, turn this corner and accept the situation for what it is, you're going to realize why you are separated from the divine masculine. You're still going to have those moments, and I still have these moments, which is why I bring that up, of just thinking of them, embracing them, holding them, making love to them, thoughts like that. Or you could go down the negative looping thoughts of, back to what I was just talking about how things were said to you. But these are all key indicators of things that you have to work on and just sit with one by one. This isn't I'm going to sit for an hour in meditation and everything's going to be fixed and they're going to be called back in. No. This is a early on, minute by minute process because of the pain and how frequent it is, hour by hour, turns into day by day. And as you slowly begin to pick out those key components, and just I'll reference it again. I'm pretending something she said to me makes me mad. It's like, no, wait a minute. I'm actually choosing to be mad about something she said to me. And secondly, why am I mad about this thing that she said to me? Does this have more to do with me than it does her? This is the idea of transmutation, sitting with those feelings and working through them one by one. And they have to be worked through one by one. I take that back. You don't have to work on them one by one, but you're going to sit in a state of regret and anger or denial and miss the beautiful aspects of what actually working through these does. So, like I said, you do have the option of not really doing anything, but I don't mean to be cruel, but you're going to be stuck for a long time if you continue to do that while simultaneously longing for the same person for a while. Let's work through this, okay? Have the courage to work through this. Find the courage to work through this. Ask for the courage to work through this. And these things will happen. But the second they start popping up, take a moment. Breathe it into you. Feel it. Feel it. See if you can step away and observe the feeling. And allow it to just sort of process and see what happens. The last thing I think that no contact really does, and here is a weak point that I'm going to admit to for me. Being together with her provided two things that I didn't know I was in desperate need of, almost maybe like a drug addict, but it was something that I was seeking through her: validation and approval. Feeling incomplete as myself and seeking validation and approval through somebody else. Now, I'm not going to minimize the intense feelings that I had for my partner then. I'm not going to minimize the sexual chemistry we had. I'm not going to minimize the electric, emotional feelings that we had when I was together with her. Those were all very real. A byproduct, though, or actually not even a byproduct, maybe even the product that is on the forefront most of the time, is me still being needy that is under this validation and an approval mindset. No contact is going to detox you from this. It's going to force you to detox from this, and it's going to force you to examine, why do I need to be validated and why do I need the approval of somebody else in order to feel whole? This is where that no contact part is going to make you feel quite naked, actually. You are going to withdraw. I think that's the best way to put it, much like, I suppose, a drug addict or an alcoholic. there's going to be a detox withdrawal phase with this when you're not getting that dopamine hit of feeling validated and approved by these people early on, and it's going to carry for some time until you begin to knock these walls down one by one. And digging deep into the need to feel validated and the need to feel approved. Because let's be real, even prior to your twin flame, these two components still existed. Your twin flame didn't ignite these two components. They ignited the reason that you need to work on these two components. To understand the difference, right? If you think about that, I've taken validation, the need to be validated and the need to be approved of, into every single relationship prior to meeting my twin. She just ignited the very aspect of why I need to drop that bullshit narrative. And it is complete bullshit. It is a lie. That is your false self and your ego telling you that you need somebody or something more than you need yourself. That's the lie. That's the rub. And this is where no contact is so important. And it's the third part about this no contact. If you are ghosted, embrace it and let go. And don't do this. Don't go on social media and stalk them. Don't text them. Don't email them. Don't call them. Don't do any of the things that I did. Because you know why? They're running. And you're chasing. And what does somebody do that doesn't want to be caught? They run faster and harder and further than you can ever possibly imagine. And until you actually stop chasing them and run out of breath in doing so, which maybe in the metaphorical sense you might, or actual in the literal, you've got to stop. You've got to turn around and you've got to face the very two things that I just said to you about needing validation and approval. And most of us in this feminine energy probably fall into that category, right? Let's be real about this and let's be honest. And pause the video if you have to and really sit there and ask yourself that question. Because at the end of the day, when I sit there and really think about my energy around her, and probably why it was so overwhelming to her and exhausting, was it no doubt felt the intense love I was giving, but also the intense neediness, and probably her recognizing something that I can't, that he's really leaning on me for him feeling whole. And I'll tell you one thing that really offended me that she said to me during the breakup. I gave you the breakup, she said. And I looked at her and said, I didn't want it. What does that sound like? Needy energy, right? I didn't want the breakup. I don't want the breakup. Please don't break up with me. I gave you the breakup, she goes. It took me almost 4 months to realize what those words actually meant. I don't think they came from her head. I think they came from our soul to shine a giant spotlight on things that I need to work on. And you guys, the sooner you embrace that and let go of that old story, and God damn it, I know it's hard to let go of that old story. It really is. That old story still creeps into my head, and it's going to continue to as I punch down these walls. But it's why I can say with just great conviction to all of you that when you begin to break down these walls, you see that you were the one making these walls and standing there, adding the bricks to those walls, and now it's up for you to take them down. And I'd be willing to bet again that if you dig deep enough, it all goes back to childhood, man. That's where I'm finding most of my wounds. There's been some things that have popped up later, but there's so much baggage that we've taken, so much conditioning that we've brought forward in our lives, and you don't really see it until no contact happens. When you're faced, or when you're forced to face the very things that you were in denial about, or the universe kept showing you in different forms over and over again, but you failed to recognize the meaning behind it. You might have, kind of caught on to it. All right, I'm a little needy, but I'm not that bad. I'll be okay on the next relationship. And it's like, that thing keeps rearing its head, doesn't it? Energy's amazing like that. It is amazing like that. Things continuously cycle. The universe keeps dropping little tidbits and hints in front of you all of the time. You just don't notice it. But while this process goes on, you really begin to notice it. And the one thing that I think has been a huge shift is just the aspect of accountability. And what I mean by that is to no longer point that finger across at the very person that was trying to help you during all of this, and that was your other half. You just didn't see it as help. You saw it, if you're anything like I did, you took offense to it, or you saw it as them cutting you down. And maybe it was to some degree, but I often fall into this category of, you know, people normally tell you what you want to hear. She was telling me things I needed to hear. I just didn't want to hear it at that time. But again, this is all part of the acceptance. This is all part of leaning into the no contact and accepting it in its horrific beauty, looking at it from a different lens of, you know, this woman, this great being, was really trying to help me. And why wouldn't she? If she's the other half of my soul, why wouldn't she help me? I would do anything for her, and I'd be willing to bet all of you would do anything for your divine, unless there's, you know, maybe some hatred in there. But for the majority of us, I'm thinking we want the best for them, right? We might still yearn for them, but at the end of the day, we truly want what's best for them. That's our innate gift as an empath, and that's something we should always strive for. And I do believe, even though they may seem cold and incredibly distant, they want what's best for you, because they couldn't stand to see you in they couldn't stand to see you at the time when they were together, or when we were together. They couldn't stand to see you that way, that neediness. They know there's a different side of you. And somebody in the comments made an interesting realization about it that I never really looked at. And do you remember how you felt the time that you noticed that they might be something bigger than anything you've ever come across in your life? That how your heart bubbled up, how you felt warm, how you felt just this yearning and loving feeling come over your body? That's what they want from you. That's what they want you to feel about yourself. So I realize that no contact is probably the single most painful aspect of this, but it is a rip the band-aid off type of solution to a problem. And the problem is, when we go look in that mirror, that we're just seeking validation and approval in a relationship that can't have either. You need to validate and approve of yourselves. That's the only way that this works. It is the only way that it works. And once you begin to start doing that and looking at who you are on a much deeper level than you ever have before, and not thinking that you being a whole comes from somebody else, you'll truly understand why no contact is so important, and why you cannot chase them, either in the literal 3D sense or the energetic sense. Neither will work. They will continue to run far, run faster than you. I might be faster than her in the 3D landscape, but on the 5D, she is Usain Bolt and I am a turtle. So just wanted to get that message out to you guys. And the reason I feel compelled to get this out is it's something I'm still struggling with at this very moment in time, almost 5 months into this, is that whole no contact thing, and me not wanting to reach out. It is hard. It's hard. It is hard. It is hard having the types of feelings that you do for somebody, and to have them basically not exist, in a sense. There's two very hard components, but I assure you, it gives you plenty of time to sit with yourself, to drill down, to be yourself, and to find yourself, and to validate and approve of yourself. That's all that matters. No contact, like I said, it's horrific and it's beautiful all at the same time. And which one do you want to lean towards? Early on, it's hard to conceptualize that it's to your benefit, but as time goes on, and as you begin to catch yourself in these moments, thinking about them in the manner in which you are, you'll notice the shift of what I'm talking about, and you'll start to appreciate its beauty. You really will. But again, I, just like you, have my days, and today is one of those days, which is why I felt really compelled to address it to all of you. So I hope you're well. I'm Kevin, working through this just as much as all of you are. I absolutely appreciate the comments. I've been just getting some amazing ones from people that take my breath away sometimes. Like, it's like, wow, the connection. And that's what this is all about. In a selfish mindset, I didn't want to be alone on this journey, which is why I started talking into a camera and posting them, because I figured there were people out there going through this just like I am, and it hasn't disappointed. We we do need each other in this. So many people comment about how they felt alone and felt when they try to talk to people that people would just give them the blank stare and wouldn't be able to connect to them. So it's been a true blessing to, I guess, quote unquote, meet all of you. But in this manner, I don't care. It's been very cathartic and very therapeutic to know that I'm not alone on this, and I hope I'm conveying and giving you all that feeling of that same type of safe space to feel welcomed and to talk about these things. So appreciate you guys. Love you all. Later.